Hi guys, I'm Jesse at Strobepro.com and I'm excited to show you the Strobepro Rolling Studio Light Panel. This is a 5x7 panel that we've put on a rolling frame, made it easy for you guys to put in your home studio, roll around, and it's at an affordable price. Not only are you going to get the diffusion material, you get a black and white scrim panel as well, which makes it great for negative fill, bouncing light, shooting through this panel, backdrops. It's really a versatile piece of equipment that we think you're really going to like. So let's take a closer look on how to put it together and what it's all about. Okay guys, so let's put this light panel together. Now, when you take your carrying bag here and you first open this up and you see all the tons of pieces that are in here, it's easy to get overwhelmed. Don't worry about that. We're going to put it together step by step here. It's not that complicated, so just follow along. If you need to pause the video, grab the pieces that I'm going to talk about, that's no problem, and then we can just carry on. So what we're going to do to start off is we're going to find the pieces because we're going to build the actual frame part itself. We'll worry about the stand later. So what I want you to find is 4 pieces that are labeled A, and each part is going to have a label on it. So you want 4 of these that say A. You're going to want 2 that say C. And then the last 2 pieces that you're going to want are these ones that say C, but that have the spigot sticking out of them. So there's only 2 of those in there. So grab those ones as well. So 4 A's, 2 C's, and the other 2 C's that have the spigot sticking out. So the other pieces you might want to grab out are all these little brackets here. The one specifically that we need is the one with the Allen keys in there. So if you can find that and grab the Allen keys, those are the only 2 tools that you're going to need. But the connector pieces that we're concerned about right now are these long cylinders here. And you'll have a bunch of them in there. They kind of feel like they're in 2 parts here. They've got a screw and they kind of connect together. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the C pieces here. So I'm going to grab one C and I'm going to grab the other C that has the spigot in it here. And I'm just going to find the open end, which is down by the spigot. I'm going to kind of put this cylinder together just so it's lined up and just slide it in there. So from there, what I want to do is just find the Allen key that fits. You've got 2, so this is the big one. That one's not going to be the one we're using right now. And this is the small one. We're just going to tighten that down, not over tightening it, because what's happening right now is that that piece is expanding out, and that's what's going to hold the 2 pieces together. We just want it kind of so it's a little bit snug there. And then we're going to grab the other piece, and if I've gone too much, it's not going to fit there. So I went a little bit too far, so just be careful that you don't do that. And just back that off so they come together a little bit more. And then they're going to connect like that. From there, just grab your Allen key again, and now we can tighten that down to where it's snug. We don't need to over tighten this at all. So you're going to have a couple turns and then it stops. Then we can just move the Allen key to the horizontal position to get a little more tension and just give it kind of a 1/4 turn. And now that piece is nice and secure. So let's do that for the other C piece here. Again, just grabbing another one of these guys. And sometimes the screw actually comes out. That's not a big deal. Just find the piece where it threads in. And you can just start that, making sure that you don't cross thread that. It'll just go straight in there. And we can thread it in. So again, we'll go into the end by the spigot. And it doesn't really matter what position we're at for the tightening screw. Grab the other one, push that in, just make sure they're together before we start tightening. Actually, it's a better idea to have that spigot turned down because then you can just spin the Allen key like that. You don't have to take it out a second time. And there we go. Those are the 2 sides that are going to go over here on the frame like that. Now we just need to do the top and the bottom. So for the top and the bottom, we're just going to grab 2 sections of the A pipe. And again, we're using those same brackets, those long cylinders, one side in, other side in like that. Grab our Allen key, tighten that down again. And again, we're not over tightening this. All this is doing is just expanding that compression lock so that these 2 sections stay together. Really easy like that. You can put them in one piece at a time if you have to. And you just want to keep them tight. You don't want to start compressing them if the 2 sections aren't right together. So push them tight. And then once you get some tension, you can get your hand out of the way. So like what's happening right there when I have this kind of tilted, I don't want that to happen. So it might be easier if you just have it up and down, keeping the 2 sections nice and secure together. There we have it. There's our top and the bottom. We just need to connect the sides to them now. Okay guys, to connect the top and bottom that we just assembled, we have 6 of these little brackets in here, and we want to grab 4 of them. They'll be kind of connected loosely there. So grab 4 of those out. That's what we're going to need for the frame. And what we're doing is we're going to take that and put it on the end here, and just until it stops. And so what we want is this spigot facing the outside, and then the whole of the bracket going in that same direction. So going that way. You don't want to assemble with the hole facing the opposite direction. Keep it parallel with the spigot here. And just holding that into place then, we're going to use the larger Allen key and just tighten that down. And we don't need to over tighten anything. So we're going to put one of those on each end. So grab another one. And again, keeping them parallel, the same as the one you just did. Try to line it up as best you can. We might have to adjust that a little bit later once we put the cross pieces in there. And again, just tightening that down. So let's do that with the other piece as well. Okay guys, we have our 4 sections put together here. So we've got our C pieces with the spigots, and then our A pieces, which are going to act as our top and bottom. So the reason I said not to over tighten these pieces on the end is because we're going to actually need to loosen them off, because what we're going to do is be fitting the A top and bottoms into them. So again, make sure that your spigot is facing out, so that way, because that's how it's going to connect to the frame. And this is actually a lot easier to do if you just lay this on the floor. So if you're doing it on the floor, take these 2 pieces, spigots facing out, put them down on the floor, and you're just going to connect the top and bottom rails to them. So I will try to do this in the air. Again, on the floor, it would be much easier. But I'm just going to back that off just a tiny bit so that I can take my A piece here and fit it through the hole. So that again is too tight there. Just back it off until it will slide through. So just like that, and we're just going to take it to the end. There's a black cap on there that you'll see. You can stop just past that black cap, just so we have enough of the rail caught there. And then we can just tighten it back down. Again, if you're doing this on the floor, it's going to be a lot easier because it's going to keep it square for you. So again, on the next corner, we're going to loosen that off, slide that on until we just see that black cap sticking out. And we're just going to repeat that for the other end. It's a little bit difficult for me to show you just in the studio here with that, but again, put it on the floor, keep the spigots facing out, and you will have to, on this last one, just flex out the bar just a little bit to fit it in there. That's no problem. Just don't overbend it or anything. You just need a little bit of tension so it will slide right in there. After we've done that, what you're going to go and do is just tighten everything up. making sure that it's nice and square and that those spigots are aligned to the outside. And then that's all there is to assemble the frame. Okay guys, now we are going to assemble the wheel assembly here. We have 2 of these L brackets. You want to find these, and those are what's going to attach into the middle of the wheel section here. These are our wheels that we can lock into place. They have a lock here. You can step on that, release it, so your scrim is not going to roll where you don't want it to. The easiest way to do this, I found, is actually just kind of release the screw almost all the way there. You want to do both sides. There's a nut on the back. You might have to kind of hold it to prevent it from spinning. And this thing is going to get kind of really loose there, which is no problem. We want that open enough so that that bracket can fit over top here. So once it's over top, we're going to try to keep it in the middle as best we can, but we can adjust that after. Once it's on there, just kind of tighten the one side down a little bit, and then just go to the other side here, and if it spins around or whatever, it doesn't matter right now. We're just trying to get that tight so we can position it. Okay, so I've just done that one kind of hand tight. This is generally aligned there. This one's a little off, so I just want to move that. And again, just getting the top and bottom kind of roughly in the middle there. And it's fine if it's loose because we need to put the other piece in there in a second. So again, this one, if the nut comes off of there, that's not a big deal. You can just go back in and tighten it back up. So don't worry if that happens. Again, get both sides loose here so that we can fit this over our other bracket. And if you don't have it quite far enough, you might need to loosen it a bit more. And just try to keep them lined up generally. And then just the other side. And these are the trickiest brackets in the whole thing, just because there's 2 pieces to them. There we go. And so you can see this is not positioned correctly. So if we have the wheels down here, we actually are going to want this up, and you just gonna want to find roughly middle for that. Just like that, and do the same thing on the other one. This one's still a little loose. We can just put a bit more tension in there to hold it. And so kind of just like that. Okay guys, so we're going to take one of the A rods that we assembled earlier and one of the wheel sections, and this is going to go over the middle. So if you've tightened that down too far, you need to loosen that back up, because now we are going to put that inside to start building the structure. So we can just loosen it a little bit. So hopefully you've got enough room to fit that in there. Again, still a little bit tight. Now is not the time that we want to remove that screw completely. Just so the opening's big enough. Perfect, like that. And then we are just going to tighten that down. You can flip it upside down if you need to. And we're going to do this on both sides. So tighten that down. And then we're just going to take the other end. We can loosen that off again. Just so we've got enough for that bar to slide into. And again, this would be easier on the floor, but you can kind of get the idea. I'm going to go upside down like we did on the other side. So you can still rotate that bar around if you need to, because the other side is not tight. Okay, so now you can kind of see that this is our bottom rail, and you can see this is not spun around properly. So if you've got it upside down or backwards or whatever, we still left that loose enough so that what we're doing here, you can see my wheels aren't aligned or anything. I can just rotate them down. Once I think they're basically in position, just make it a little more snug so that when we put the other sections in here, it's not going to rotate around. So just a little bit of tension. Now we can put the uprights in. Okay guys, we're almost there. We're going to take our telescoping section here, which is labeled B. We have 2 of those. So grab one of those and you'll have 2 of these brackets left. What I want to do is slide that up. I'm just going to put it roughly in the middle position right now and just kind of loosely tighten that just so it doesn't slide. We'll need to adjust that in a minute. Then we're going to go over here, and this is why I said that we're going to have to adjust this later. Down on the bottom, we need this B pull to slide in there. So again, I'm just going to loosen that off just so I have enough room to slide that B pull in. And our bracket here we want facing to the inside because this is where our last support bar is going to connect. So just align that and kind of snug that up again. And then we're just going to do the same thing with the last one. Again, grab this last clamp, slide this up kind of part way. We're generally trying to match the height to the other one here, so you can just kind of eyeball it at this point. And secure that just loosely into position, as we will have to adjust that in a second. And things are getting a little bit... Okay, as you guys saw, it was getting ridiculous to assemble that on a small table, so I put it on the floor here, so hopefully you can still see what's going on. So we've assembled the one side, and again, this is all just kind of loose right now. We're just kind of having it enough to secure it, and we're going to tighten that down in a minute. You can see that the wheels are going to rotate and everything right now. So what we want to do to put the other side in, go to our Allen key. Again, that's the larger Allen key. I'm going to loosen that guy off just enough to get that. And it doesn't matter if it flops over like that right now. We're just getting that in there and then kind of tightening it. We can rotate the wheels back up there. And now we'll put a little bit of tension in there so that the wheels are going to stay vertical for us so that we can easily do this next part. Again, we've got the 2 Allen keys, one on the back and then one on the bottom, which makes it a little trickier to find right now. So just snug those up on both sides. Roll that. This is the point where you kind of want to get the wheels leveled there. So we'll just go tighten there. And then tighten on the bottom. So there you can see it's already rolling around, and the last thing that we need to do is take our last A section that we assembled, and we had tightened those down a little bit to hold them last time. So we need to loosen those off again. We'll put one section like that. Oops, wrong side. Loosen the other section. Again, you can put your finger on the back of that screw if it's spinning. So once we line that up, put a little bit more tension in there. And we just want to go across here and make sure that we are kind of level. I can see that I am not level there. So you kind of want this roughly about mid-height. So you might need to just loosen that off. Again, it's kind of tough to see there. I think I'm about level, maybe down a bit on that side. And we're right about there. And again, you can step back from it and take a look just to see exactly where you're at. One of the other things that you could do actually at this point, you can see these knobs up on the top. It's probably a good idea for you to have them kind of on the sides because those are our adjustment knobs. So to do that, what we would do again, just go down here, loosen this one off a little bit. And then we can just turn it so we keep that screw, that tightening screw on the other side. Now I'm putting force on that, tightening it up, making sure it's nice and secure. And again, on the other side, just on the back here. I'm going to twist that to make sure it's on the side, straighten our wheels up, and now we are tightening this into its final place. And so you're just going to go around everything that you haven't already tightened. So here, and then the last ones would just be on the bottom here, which I believe we pretty much tightened already. Yeah, so just make sure nice and snug. And now you can see that we've got our frame that rolls around. If you roll it and you're like, that doesn't quite feel right, you might be misaligned a bit. I think I can go a little more vertical just over here. At some point that just rotated out a bit, so just turn that up. I'm just rotating the bar to get the wheels perfectly level. And now when I rotate that, it feels really good. Okay, here are our two clamps. You'll have two of them obviously in the bag. We're just going to back off our screws here, and you want to have these positioned vertically right now. And we are just going to go over here, back that thumb screw off until it drops onto the spigot. And I want to keep that handle on the side. And again, just over here. Back it off until it drops on, that's perfect. And then tighten it back on. And these screws, just back them off until we're ready to put our frame on that we assembled earlier. So here is our frame, and one of the nice things about this kit is that you don't have to use the rolling base. You can easily disconnect it. So if you had someone that you wanted to hold this, it's aluminum, it's really lightweight. Like you can easily hold this with one hand if it wasn't so awkward, but yeah, weight-wise, you're not gonna have to struggle with that. So what we wanna do though is attach this to our rolling base, and you wanna put that in the front as well right now. And this is a good time to step on your locks on the back here, just so this isn't gonna completely roll out of place for you. And all I'm gonna do, making sure that this thumb screw is backed off, I'm taking the spigot here, and it will rotate if you have this loose down here, which is fine for right now. I'm just temporarily sitting that into the hole there. And you've got a little bit of flex, and it's just gonna go in just like that. So I wanna push it in till it grabs the spigot, and then tighten that thumb screw. And on this side, it'll be on the front. Tighten that one down. And now we have our frame assembled. And again, we can adjust the height of this however we want by adjusting our lifting screws there. So you would just go up, and again, you have a ton of adjustability up and down. From there, you could tilt this horizontal if you had a light overhead, you wanted to get some kind of overhead lighting. We're just going to loosen the handles on the side, and that's going to allow us to rotate, just making sure it's all the way loose, and we can rotate that wherever we want. So there you have it, guys. The frame is assembled, and that is the trickiest part. But the nice thing is this thing is really lightweight. You can roll it out of position when you're not using it. We can disconnect the frame if we want to hand hold this for some reason. And it's just a really versatile piece in the studio. as you can see, it does take a little bit to assemble it. It's not that complicated, but you're not going to want to disconnect this every time you're going to someone's house or to do a shoot. We have other scrims for that. You can check out our Butterfly Scrims if you want to invest in one of those to be a little bit more portable. But for the average studio user or home studio user, this is absolutely perfect. You're going to get a ton of function and versatility out of this. So to install our black or white material here, it's the same piece of fabric, it just reverses. So with the loops out like this, that's going to be for the black side, we would just reverse them so we've got the ability to hook on that stretchy fabric onto the top corners. So I would just start with one corner, and if you have two people it's even easier, but it's not too bad actually. And it would help if I put it on the right corner. So you can just temporarily hang that there, and again make sure that that stretchy loop is flipped out, and then you're just going to tension that in on each corner, and then just the last one here, again flipping that the other way for the white here, and just like that. So here we have the white side, which is fantastic as a bounce. You can use this as a backdrop as well, as I've already mentioned, but it's really easy just to go to the black fabric as well. We're just going to pull this off just to show you here. So we have these stretchy loops on the top. They just quickly disconnect. And what we want to make sure we do when we flip it around, we just need to reverse that loop. It just kind of pops into the other side there. And then all we do is simply just put that right back on the corner. So there you have it. That's really quick and easy to switch between the black and the white material. To add the diffusion material to our frame, it's really quite easy. You'll notice on this material compared to the black and white that we have a couple extra Velcro closures there. That's just to keep the tension. I'll show you how to do those in a minute. But the main concept is the same between both. We have some stretchy loops up there, and all we're going to do is drop those onto the corners of the panel, and as long as you get two on, that's going to basically hold most of the tension. So from there we're going to go and do the bottom corners, and you can see already that's added a lot of tension to the frame, but just to make sure it's nice and snug, just undo that Velcro, wrap it around, and it's going to stick on right there. And you're going to have two on each side and then one on the top and bottom. And you'll just go along and do those. It's not absolutely critical, but again, it just gives you that extra tension. And I recommend doing the sides first, and then you can do the top and bottom. And sometimes I'll sneak behind there. It's a little easier to do it behind. And you might notice that as you go through that you've tightened up one too tight or that, so you can adjust them as necessary. But you can see there now we've got a lot of tension on our Scrim diffusion material, and we're ready to get a light behind there to start shooting. So there you have it, guys, the Strobepro Rolling Studio Light Panel. It's incredibly versatile, designed to fit in any home studio. It has its own frame. You can roll it into place, roll it out of place, so it's not taking up a ton of room. We've got a ton of adjustment. We can adjust the height. We can tilt it horizontal, vertical. Plus we have the three fabrics. You've got your black, the white, and the diffusion material that only takes seconds to change out. We think this is a great option for you if you've always wanted to experiment with a panel but never had the budget to do it. We tried to keep this as affordable as possible, and we think the value is there and you're really going to enjoy it. So check it out at strobepro.com, and until next time, I'm Jesse.